Okay, so we've now seen the basics. Now we're going to move forward. You already know dir, and you can see that in this window there's a bunch of subfolders in my student window. There's another command called tree, and tree is kind of neat. It's similar to dir. So if I scroll up here, but it shows the not just the directories but the subdirectories in any given folder that you use tree in. So this is useful because again it'll help you find stuff, right? If you do Control F, then type in, let's say, I don't know, let's say the word car. And it highlights it for me. Maybe, for example, I knew that there was a folder or a file that is within a certain directory, and I just want to find it. And I don't want to click through each and every one. You could use tree, and then you could use find, Control F for find, and type it in here, and that's one way to do it. Of course, you could also type in anything in here in your search box here, and sometimes it'll find it. Okay, so so tree is pretty useful in that sense, where it could help you sort of visually. It'll give you a visual sort of readout of the relationships of just not the folders but the subfolders too. So let's clear screen and tree /?. So you can see here, you need the drive layer of the path, and you have the switch F and A. So F displays the names of the files in each folder, and A uses an ASCII instead of extended characters. Okay, so there's basically two different formats, and it's not really that important for most users. I think just use tree by itself, but so you could do it with showing all the different file extensions that could be useful to you. Okay, so let's clear screen. And now we're going to actually start creating our own directories. So let's change directories to the desktop. Okay, so I'm going to move this command prompt over so you can see. What I'm going to do is show you the command. So there's a few variations in the command line world with the commands themselves. So the next command is md, or make directory. So if I go / / it's going to show you that I can actually type out md or mkdir, and it's exactly the same thing. So it's just a preference. Now for me, I prefer to keep it simple, so md is better than mkdir. It's less typing. So if I want to create a folder, I type in md for make directory, and then I give it a folder name, so folder 1. And so you can see right here, it just popped up, I have folder 1. So if I wanted to, I can make multiple folders. So let's call it folder 2, folder 3, folder 4. And this is an example how, oops, I mistyped folder to folder, but it doesn't care. I'll type in, it'll make a folder out of any word. Okay, so so it made a bunch of folders for me pretty quickly. This is way faster than if I right click, go new folder, and give it a name, folder 5, let's say. Okay, so what I need to do is type in md, give it a space, give it a folder name, and I could, as long as I have the space, folder name, space, folder name, I could create many folders. I don't know what the limitation is, but more than you ever will probably need. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete these. Okay, I'm just going to delete through the GUI for now. So then if I want to create a folder, what if I want to create a folder? Because if I create a folder, let's say I create a folder called folder 1, notice there's a space this time. What do you think is going to happen? Okay, so if I press enter, what it did is it created two folders, one called folder and one called 1. And the reason is because there's that space in between. So I got to type in md quote folder space 1 close quote. And as long as I follow that rule with the quotes, it'll now create a folder space 1 folder on my desktop. Okay, or a directory. MD, remember folder and directory is the same thing. Another thing I could do is go MD. I could go, let's say F1, backslash F2, backslash F3, backslash F4, OK, backslash F5. And if I press enter, notice this F1 has folders in it. So if I could start to drill into those folders because I was able to create all those folders right away. Okay, so MD is make directory. You can make the directory anywhere. It does. I don't have to use MD in my working folder, working directory. So right now I'm on the desktop. If I wanted to, I can make a folder in, let's say, C user student. That's one directory below me. Okay, so I could do MD, and I could go C : / users / student. Okay, and that would be, let's say, here. Okay, so you can see I'm going to create a folder called test. Okay, press enter, and there it is. There's that test one. It was just created right now. Okay, so it timestamps it. It's 512, 719. That's just happened right now. Okay, now the thing is that if I wanted to give it a different path other than my current path, I could use an absolute path or a relative path. They both work. So for example, I could go change directory and go into student, and then I could say MD desktop / test2. Press enter, and you can see test2 just popped up. So as long as I give it a path, the secret to making the MD command work without being in your current working directory is just to give it the complete path, and then you give it a /, a backslash, and then your own folder name, and that will create the folder. So that's how Windows operates. If you ask it to make a folder, at the end of the path, it'll know that what you're asking for you to do, and it'll do it. Okay, so that is the end of this section, which is MD make directory.